Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44. Okay, we are right before tip off of Game 6 between the Hawks and the Bucks, and as I predicted, Trey Young will try to give it a go. Uh, so, what I expect to see, um, we're gonna have to see how his mobility is. If he's playing like himself, and if he's bouncing back quickly, I like the Hawks to take advantage of that. But the thing about it is, and I've said this before about Patrick Beverly and Chris Paul coming back having to face him. Uh, when you're coming back from injury, the last thing you want to do is face somebody who's extremely talented defensively, and that's exactly what's about to happen to Trey Young. He's coming back to a very, very well playing somebody who's coming off a very good game in Drew Holiday, whose momentum is strong, who sees an opportunity to go to his first NBA Finals this evening, and I expect him to take it to Trey Young. So if Trey Young doesn't have it going early, they may want to move on and try to get Lou Williams back in the game, try to see if they can give him a break. If he's not if he's not shooting correctly, and if his shot's not falling, they need to move on. That's what I'll say. This game is too important uh, for him to be trying to get his rhythm early and bricking shots. Now I don't expect that to be the case. I do want him to be aggressive, but you know, some of the poor shot selection and stuff like that. It's a game. It's a game six with your back against the wall. There's not a lot of room for mistakes. You want whoever is shooting to be efficient, and you want to try to make sure that you're aggressive on the defensive end, particularly on the boards. You want to make sure you cut down second chance points. If you're the Hawks, Clint Capella is going to be very important tonight. I need to see more scoring out of guys like Collins. Got to stay on the floor, stay out of foul trouble, that kind of stuff. That's important. Pay attention to Bogey. He was coming off a very, very good game. He seems to be getting his legs under him. He's going to be an important Hawk this evening. So yeah, that's for them. And on the other side, it's the Bucks. They're coming off a game where, as I said, I had seen them play well without Giannis. Everybody tends to fall into place um, when Giannis is removed from the team as it pertains to this system for some reason. And what you have is guys who are not used to getting as many touches now get a chance to shine and a chance to settle into what it is that they would normally do if they were on other teams. Brooke Lopez is getting a chance to be featured a little more opportunities for a guy like Bobby Portis. Obviously, as I mentioned, Drew Holiday, and of course, Chris Middleton steps in and takes the bulk of the offensive shots, which bodes well because he's a rhythm player. Thing about it is, he tends to not play well after playing well. He's a every other game kind of guy, so you're not expecting for him to have as good of a game as he did in the previous game. You don't want to be the guys relying upon him if you're the Bucks. I always say you approach Game 6 if you're the team that's up 3-2 like it's a Game 7, because you know if you go to Game 7, a lot of things can determine that basketball game, and it may not just be you playing well that'll determine that game. You don't want to leave it up to chance. Game 6 teams need to have the same intensity as the Game 7 back against the wall squad as well, obviously, to match that intensity. So it would be wise psychologically to see this as a win or go home if you're the Bucks, especially given the fact that you do not have Giannis tonight. But he has been recovering quickly, from what I understand. It looks like he may actually be able to give it a go at some point in these playoffs. And if they do go to a Game 7, it's like I predicted that Trey Young will give it a go. I think Giannis will actually try to really read it. I don't think he should, but I think he's going to. Excuse me. If allowed to, this means too much to him. And from what I understand, he is progressing kind of fantastically at this point. So that's encouraging. I think he can make it worse. I think there's always room for that. So I wouldn't go back out there. But I understand. Championships don't come around too often. There are other guys on the team that are looking to you to lead them. And if you can go, it may be the decision you want to make, and it may be the decision that you ultimately can live with, regardless of what happens. And so that's up to the athlete at the end of the day. But you do want to consider things outside of basketball, life after basketball, etc. So I would encourage Giannis to be very, very, I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm a spiritual dude. I'd say pray on it, to be honest with you, because it's just too important on both ends. But anyway, so moving on from there, I'm looking forward to seeing how the Bucks approach, how they carry their good play from the home arena to now a very, very intense Atlanta crowd. It's going to be star-studded, of course, tonight. I'm expecting everybody to want to either root the Hawks to a victory or give them a very, very valiant standing ovation for a phenomenal season that they've had. Either way, it's going to be an intense environment, and it's going to be a lot of support out there for the Hawks, obviously. So they're going to feed off of that crowd, I'd imagine. They're going to play balls out, as I want to say, and I expect the Hawks to carry themselves to a victory tonight. I think this game is going to be won by the Hawks, and the reason why I think that is because I don't know that the Bucks are as good of a team as we saw them in for Game 5. I don't know that without Giannis. As good as they played with those individual performances, I have to see them do that on the road to be a believer. As I said, Middleton don't play well on the road like that. Well, not to say on the road, but back to back. He tends to be every other game. Jrue Holiday has been sometimes all playoffs long. Pretty much his entire tenure with the Bucks has kind of been hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. And he's coming off a hot, so I expect him to play well tonight. And it's a winner go home type of situation, or rather a closeout situation, excuse me. I expect him to be a superstar type tonight. And I think that being that Trae Young is coming back, I think he will be very aggressive. Because Trae Young did smoke him a little bit in the series. So now that Trae is coming back from injury, he has the upper hand physically. And I expect him to use that and utilize that. Pay attention to drawing fouls, though. Being aggressive against Trae Young is a dangerous thing because he draws fouls very easily. So I'm sure Jrue Holiday understands that. That's something that Bucks fans want to pay attention to. Foul trouble for guys like Bobby Portis. You are thinner now. You don't have Giannis out there. So that means the guys that are playing well need to be on the floor. The Hawks should be looking to draw fouls tonight. That should be very important. Lou Williams is going to be extremely important in a game like this where you win or go home. He needs to play well. And I expect him to. As I said, Clint Capella, hot and cold. As much as I give him credit, you've had games where he's been rebounding extremely well, and you've had games where he rebounds okay. He needs to rebound extremely well tonight, and I expect him to do just that. He needs to have over 13 boards. Clean up. That's what has to happen tonight. Make sure that you erase any and all mistakes. I expect Trae Young to struggle in terms of shooting the ball. He's coming back from a lower extremity injury, and I know he's an aggressive player. He's never been in a situation like this. There's room for him to play extremely well, too. I'm not going to give myself a speak out of both sides of my mouth, but I can see scenarios in either direction, but I'm expecting him to struggle because he's coming back from injury. But it's all about approach. If you come out shooting the three and falling in love with the three and it isn't falling, and this applies to both teams, you move away from it. You have to move away from it. This game's too important. You don't want to die behind the three either side, and they tend to they'll shoot the three a lot. Both teams do. So I'm wondering to see who rebounds well off that three-point shot. The Bucks running some plays that were working in this last game, and they really dominated based on what I was seeing out there. Adjustments are going to be important. Can Nate McMillan make the adjustments necessary to overcome what the Bucks have now become without Giannis, which is a more shooting team and a more traditional run offense? If that's the case, I think they'll be all right. So it's a lot that can happen tonight. Foul trouble will be something to pay attention to. Free throw shooting will be important. I think the Hawks are going to win the game. But I do know that a guy like Bobby Portis should be important tonight in this environment. I expect him to be loud and ready to go. PJ Tucker is going to be important in this environment, loud and ready to go. They're going to bring it physical to the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to bring it. With Brook Lopez coming off a 33-point scoring game, I absolutely and utterly do not expect him to score like that tonight. So some other people on that Bucks team are probably going to shuffle around and score a little more or a little less to make up the difference. I don't see him having no game like that. I expect him to score like 12 tonight. I really do. He's a great player, and this is an important game, but I just don't see him going like that again. I'd love to be wrong, though. I'd love to be wrong because that's my dog. I like Brook Lopez from when he played with us. He was a good Laker, and I didn't want to let him go because he could stretch that floor as good as anybody. And if he gets it going tonight, say goodnight to what I just said, because he's a no-brainer type of offensive player. In a situation like this, especially without Giannis, he can take more shots. So, it's possible he plays well, but I'm saying 12 points for him. I expect him to not bounce back as strong on the road. So we'll see, man. I'm excited about the game. It's about to start up pretty much right now, so I'm gonna cut this thing off. Thank you guys for watching me. BDF 44. I'm out.